Hey, welcome back to the Psychic Soul Healer channel. My name is Laura, and I'm going to do a general message for you all. Know that energy is fluid, so roles can be reversed, flip it, switch it, twist it. Just interpret the message as it best resonates for you. You know, I'm so tired of saying that at the beginning of a reading. I feel like singing it or screaming it. But it is important because, like I said, you may find that parts of the reading resonates for you, and then other parts of the reading resonate more for the person that you're tapped into. And it's mainly when you're doing spiritual readings and you're tapped into the divine is always going to give messages to the person that needs to hear the message. So again, usually in relationships, there's not one person that's right. You know, there's always your side of the story, my side of the story, and then the truth. So the divine always goes to the truth. And so that's why we have to say it. Now, if you're new to the channel, anything that you need to know about the channel or in relevance to the channel, you can find in the description box. You'll find all the time how to enter into winning a free psychic reading with me, which really all you have to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write whatever the magic word of the day is. So the magic word of the day is always how I open up the reading too. I always use my Psychic Soul Healer deck because, again, they're going to tell us what the emotional and psychological issues that we need to look at. And what are your wounds? When we're looking at traumas, we're looking at the psychological and the emotional. You're an energetic being. You're only in physical form to learn and to manifest. You're supposed to be learning that you're not separate from God, which is unconditional love. And so that's our connection to each other. It's empathy, it's sensitivity, it's that supernatural part of ourselves. But when we have, you know, shadows, those are blocks. And those blocks are what prevent us from moving forward, from having a balanced relationship. And balanced, you know, when things are out of balance, there we tend to get very emotional. We're up in our head. Again, we're no longer grounded. We're coming either from a past situation, always like ruminating on the past, or worried about the future. So again, everybody knows that, and everybody knows what it feels like to be in a relationship that does that. So ironically, today's word of the day is going to be a few words. It's release, attentive, and repressed nature. So this is actually like when we're holding on to a cognitive dissonance, and that's when we want something, but then we don't want it. It's when we want something, and I feel, again, the energy is that you are connected to someone that you want, but you also don't want. And so when we are in this energy, we're blocked. And we certainly can't move forward. And if we can't move forward, it's because our third eye isn't open. We don't have a vision for ourselves. So maybe at one point, you believe that you were going to be with this person, Taurus, and I believe that they thought that they were going to be with you too. There's a spiritual energy. Release fear and ancestral karma. So again, this could be you both came from very codependent homes where one parent had all the power and the other person didn't have the power, or the caregiver, or if your parent was divorced and was with someone, that person had all the power, and you watched your mother didn't have the power. And if your parents stayed together, it was the parent that you were more emotionally connected to, so you inherited this trauma, which is the fear and ancestral karma, which is passed down when we're taught by a society what's correct and what's not correct, when we feel we can't live in our truth. And our truth is, again, coming from our own wants, needs, desires, beliefs, but instead we lived in an environment that taught us and became traumatized. So then we got very rigid beliefs of how things should be. So I always believe that you and this person are always in a power struggle, which is why you're like, I don't want to be with this person. But the thing is, there's a lot of unconditional love. So we know that this is a soulmate relationship. We don't know what kind of soulmate relationship yet. But if it's a heavy duty lesson, it could be a past life karmic mate, which a lot of times is going to teach us the spiritual lessons that we should have learned in previous lifetimes. So there's a lot of passion in these relationships. There's a lot of chemistry, but it's out of balance right from the get-go. And so a lot of times we're not looking at how it's out of balance. We're just looking at what it is that we want instead of, what it actually is. And so, so the way that we release the fear and ancestral karma a lot of times is we have to make a decision, and that decision is, are we going to surrender our ego, or are we going to be stubborn and have, wait for that, our person? And I feel like Taurus, you're in a power struggle with your person. You're both kind of like waiting it out. But there's still this, intuitive ESP connection, which means that it's most likely a twin flame relationship, or it's a past life karmic relationship. And twin flame relationship, why I say that is because there's that ESP connection to the heart and mind, but there's also like the way that you both were brought up, how you inherited your wounds. You inherited them from your ancestors, again, because of the codependent relationships that they were in. And so you saw the imbalance. So there's a need that everybody wants control. But when it's a soulmate twin flame, everybody has to surrender their ego. Everybody has to surrender their ego. When it's a past life karmic mate, this is where behaviorisms need to change, because karmic situations play out as anything that we learn from. Unfortunately, we identify with pain and hurt in that way. So, like I said, we don't know what this is yet, but we do know that this is a very strong soul connection. But we also know why spirit has brought this person into your life, Taurus, and that's again to release attentive and repressed nature of control. Again, holding on to that cognitive dissonance, like I want it, but I don't want it. I want it, but I don't want it. And needing to release fear and ancestral karma, meaning the way that your parents lived, you don't need to live that way. And if it's a spiritual situation, we can quantum jump into any reality that we want to. So it means that we need to know what we need not to do to repeat that karmic thing. Now, if this is a twin flame, you would have to wait for them to surrender their ego. Everyone would actually have to surrender their ego. If this is a past life, like I said, the person would have to actually come back with change behavior. It's again, but there is this soul connection where love, unconditional love, makes us do things that we would normally not do. That's why the songs go, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. And what you shouldn't do is abandon who you are, because with a karmic mate, a lot of times that's what it is. It's that you have to give up a part of yourself in order to be with them. And that's going against like who you truly are in order to make them happy. It's when you care more about that other person's happiness than your own. So that's why I'm saying it's important to know the type of relationship that you're in. It's also important to understand why a person is coming into your life and why you're like, oh, I'm so passionate about this person. Well, of course, you're going to be passionate about any type of soul connection. It's a divine connection. It's why God has brought this person into your life to teach you. So again, we don't get what we need. We don't get what we want sometimes. We get what we need. And that's, again, to uncover healing. So let's look and actually see what I do want to see, obviously, what they were doing, but I'm curious to build more on the spiritual energy, because we can always detect more information on how to deal with this situation, how to find balance within the situation when we know more, obviously. So attitude in your own world, rebel without a cause. So again, the person that you were dealing with, again, was not giving you anything, and they weren't really giving you anything because they're not comfortable with who they are. They don't like who they are. So now you have somebody that's wounded, and I know now that this is a karmic past life connection, because if they don't feel, they feel out of tune. They're in a world all to their own, and most likely that means that they're living really from the ego part of themselves, and that's the survival. And the survival also is the very self-indulgent. It's someone that only cares about themselves. It's someone that's coming from a low vibrational consciousness. And that doesn't mean that they're not a nice person, or don't. It actually does, because unfortunately it comes out in their character. It doesn't mean that they don't try to be a nice person. It's the fact that they're not coming from a high enough vibration. If I only care about myself, then they're obviously not going to treat you nicely. So, but understand the reason why they weren't really treating you nicely is because they have such a strong connection to you, but they don't like who they are. So how can you really fall deep head over heels and let someone into your life that you're constantly triggered because you don't like your life? So understand, again, soulmate or any soul relationship creates awareness, but that awareness is supposed to trigger some changes. So like I said, I'm saying that this is a past life, but a past life karmic mate has the potential to change and heal. And a twin flame would normally be on the verge, if they are in this type of situation, would have to actually raise their vibration and come back with complete total change. And you say, well, how are they going to do that? They don't do it. Yes, they do. It's the fire. It's the fire. It's the passion. Understand, twin flame is the fire and the ice. It's the opposite. And it's, again, the transmutation is all about the passion. We can't transmute the negative a lot of times, and the negative of raw family ancestral karma, where you inherited the pain of your parents' wounds, and again, and their parents' wounds. I think in the Bible it says 700 generations inherited your family and ancestral trauma. But we have the power today to break these generational curses because we know more about the mind. And so, again, person cannot not like who they are and be in a world on their own, because again, there's this fake persona then of, I'm a rebel without a cause. See, I'd rather be a rebel without a cause, because then at least that's better than being like, I have no cause and I have no identity. So it's because you don't know who you are. Again, confronting, and they see you as always confronting. Like, so again, we see their wounds, and their wounds really is not that you're confronting them, is that to even have a conversation to someone that's so wounded, they're so overly sensitive, then they take everything personally because they're looking through distorted perception filters about themselves. And that's what happens when you've been around abusive relationships, when you've been around people that have controlled you. I mean, we're born perfect. Understand, you're born with a clean slate. Your brain is like a little ball of putty that can be continuously shaped due to the experiences. So I understand neurological pathways are created from living in experiences that have made you feel limited, that have made you detach from yourself, from this person's self. So this is what you're dealing with. You're not dealing with somebody that knows who they are. You're dealing with someone that's wounded. And so they've created a false persona, which is why they weren't really going to let you get close to them. So let's see what your wounds are. Okay, sadness. Sadness. Because again, part of you thought that they were someone else. It brings out your own, again, feelings of not being able to have love. Because I feel like, again, when your parents are so codependent, they can't really be focused on you. And I believe that you were always sensitive towards. And because you were, you needed to get that attention that you didn't get. So there's that reoccurring, like, karmic theme of not being loved. So you have to say, well, that means that you were in this relationship for a little bit of time, or too much invested in this person without them being invested enough in you. That's how we knew that this was a karmic. So this is why it's important to always look at the wounds. So it's so to bring up your wound, because you say, why did I live this? Why are they not living their karma? Well, we don't know that yet. But usually they are, if they live this way, if they're living from their mask, they're not living from a true identity. So they're living more from an emotional state, which changes from day to day. Person might even seem like they're a little bipolar, that they're very moody because they're not dealing with their emotions. So it's, again, that would make you sadness. And I also believe, again, that possibly this brings up the wounding, again, of that close parent that you were attached to, that stayed in a relationship like this. So this is the inherited ancestral karma. And that's why it is sad, because it's, many generations of families that stayed together, but stayed together very detached, and then having to, like, either deal with it through drinking, deal with it through, cheating, dealing with it through escapism. You're not doing that, which is why, again, there's this sadness, but you're actually sitting in it. Let's see what else. Reckless, being thoughtless, taking dangerous risks, practice. Okay, so again, like, that thinking maybe somehow that this can work out. So this sadness, because it's difficult when we're sad, we just stay stuck, and we stay stuck in the limitation of, again, the situation, and that limitation of the wound of how we perceive ourselves and what we can have. So obviously, and to relieve ourselves, because there is such an emotional connection, because this is a soul mate from a past life. There's, again, recognition there, an ESP connection. It can be very much confused with a healthy relationship, because it's like, well, I just want to be with this person all the time. It's like, it would be reckless for you to be with this person, because they don't know how to be, and it's not because of you. You would be reliving a karmic situation. You would literally be inheriting that same situation that you grew up in, and you don't want that. All right, so let's see what the hidden truths are. Even though, this situation is what it is, like, and they acted that way, let's see what they really, again, because this will really tell us whether or not the person is a karmic mate. because if their character is bad, it's going to come out. If they're, it's going to come out meaning their intention. If they, because the character is bad, but we want to look at the intention is what I'm trying to get at. So if their intention is to be a karmic mate that comes in and just takes what they want, and they don't really care about your feelings, or they have ulterior motive, it's going to come out. If they really truly have feelings for you, then we see it's just that they're coming from a very low vibrational consciousness of fear. And so because of what they've gone through, which means that they would be open to healing. And maybe this situation with you, because there is such a soul connection, will make them change. That doesn't mean be with them. Sometimes we're come into a person's life in order to change them through how we are, through how we conduct ourselves, for how much we'll put up with, what we allow, what we put up with, especially if it's a soul connection where we're like, I was supposed to be with that person. I wish I could take back my words. So there's some remorse. I feel like this person just, again, acted like they didn't care. So I don't even feel like they said a lot. I think that they downplayed the relationship that they had with you, your importance in their life. Because again, it's all or nothing. This is the behavior, codependency. Everything is black and white. Somebody has power, the other person doesn't. Subservient, controlling, manipulative. Like are all what happens when we try to, have the upper hand in relationships. Because again, it might be using the fact that there was such an emotional connection and knowing that you would deal with it, or thinking that they would deal with it is what I'm feeling. So they're in full regret, Taurus. I feel you, even though we are apart, again, soul's connection. ESP through the heart and mind, as I just said, transcends lifetimes. Okay, so it meaning that unconditioned love can't be destroyed, it can't be severed, it can't be manipulated. Now, if this person rises up, then again, it's usually because there's greater purpose for you and them to accomplish. And maybe there's more wounds as well, but there's a very strong soul connection. And with that is a lot of passion. My life is not as together as it seems. So again, we know that. I think that they not sure what you know and what you don't know. So again, what prevents them from actually coming forward is the fact that they put on this big charade to make you perceive something about them. It could be, I'm feeling like their job. They wanted you to think that they had a lot of money. They wanted you to believe that they were so successful and so in control of their life. And I don't really believe that they were. I wish I could share my good news with you, but I do believe that this person is getting their life together. So it's ironic because I'm starting to feel like this is a twin mate, a twin flame, soulmate, but I also believe, again, is that from a past life. And I don't know whether all twin flames come from past life, but again, this person again has been with you for many, many, many lifetimes, and they've come into your life, but when they met you, they were not on a high vibration at all. They wanted you to pretend that they were, but when they come back into your life, which is what I'm feeling, which we will pull cards to see, but I feel like they're coming back into your life as that person that they portrayed themselves to be before, because they perceive you to be someone of quality, someone like they've never even met before. So this is why they wish they could tell you, but they can't tell you because that's who they want you to believe that they've always been. They don't want you to ever think bad of them, but ironically, I think that they treated you bad in order to like cover up all this bullshit that they of who they perceive that they are. And that's what happens when we have wounds, right? When we have wounds, we want, you know, people to perceive us from the mask that we wear. And so we live from that level of consciousness, which is not in alignment with our true self. So obviously our behaviorisms a lot of times will then be like holding a cognitive dissonance, which is like, I want it, but I don't. Because I want this because the heart wants it, but I don't want it because I'm terrified of it because I don't know whether I'm good enough. It brings up a lot of crap for this person, but it also made them change. It also made them change. But like I said, in the process, I feel like, you know, they hurt you. Now, how do you feel? How do you feel about the situation? Betrayal, because it's again the way that they did it. It's again abandonment. It triggered your deepest wounds of abandonment and betrayal. Because again, if your parents were in a codependent relationship, then they couldn't be there for you. Then that first abandonment happened so young. And so when we haven't healed and integrated a wound, we've had several situations where people don't show up, people aren't there when you need them. So, and they make you believe that things are your fault instead of apologizing. So it brought up, again, a lot of like betrayal. But again, I'm feeling, need to learn forgiveness. And so does that mean to like be with this person? No, not if you don't want to be, but not to be like, I'm so angry at what you did. Because to be able to look and say, well, you're in pain and you liked me that much that you hid who you are from me because you thought I wouldn't think it was good enough. That means other people around you treated you that way. So you would actually have to like not take it personally, like I'm betrayed if you care about this person. Because understand, person can't go back in time. They can't fix it. So a lot of times when we live in a situation that plays like unfolds almost like, well, I would be like my mom or my dad in this situation. It's because you need to, again, to put yourself in their shoes in order to learn the spiritual lesson, in order to transcend but obviously if you're stuck and I'm stuck in being mad, I'm stuck in being mad, but I do love you. So we can see how that also is that needing to release attentive repressed nature. So you're both holding on to that energy, but for different reasons. So like goes to like, you're a mirror of who and what comes into your life. And it's a divine connection because this is a hard spiritual lesson. Who would stick around, right? Unless you were crazy about the person, unless you were really hot and passionate to the person, but that hot passion side, that fire side is all about, transmutation. Rising from the ashes. So we know that this relationship crashed and burned, but the phoenix rises from the ashes, and what it does is it pierces through every single chakra, right? And in order to manifest that spiritual energy. I act like I don't care when deep down I really do. So again, you're in, like I said, which you have a right to be angry. So what is going to happen? Because it's like, after a while, are we ever going to forgive? It's like I said, it's almost like if you don't forgive, it's almost like you're going to cut your nose off to spite your face, which sometimes we want to do. We're that mad, and it's not that you don't have a right to for the way that this person treated you. Again, regardless of why. but it says more about them, and this is their weakness. So maybe you're better at articulating, and maybe you've come into their life to teach them how to articulate, but you can be in their life as a friend. You know, if you really care and you're like, I don't know what to do in this situation, you find a place of balance. If the person really has feelings for you, they'll find that place of balance. Now, if you're like, nope, they can't, I don't want to forgive them, then there's nothing that they can do. You know, I'm totally heartbroken that we're not together right now. I'm up at night worrying about us and our future. This is, I believe, more your person. But I think that you are also heartbroken because you're like, I don't know about our future because I don't know if I could forgive you. And this person knows that. I'm sorry for being critical of you. I know I hurt you with my harsh words and actions. So I feel like you both are that way. Will you guys come to a place of balance? Because right now I'm feeling like you're in a power struggle right now. Actually, let's ask the universe, what energy do we need to deal with this? Because it's like when you're stuck in a cognitive dissonance, how do we surrender? How do we surrender to what has happened when there's still so much unconditional love? How can we move past it? Regardless, we understand, but it just triggered so much pain is what I'm feeling. So asking the Holy Spirit, please, how can we move past this situation? What is the advice? The path to light. I make the conscious choice to move toward the light, one step at a time. I transform my weaknesses into strength by mastering my thoughts. I overcome obstacles with positivity and acceptance. I develop my gifts and extend my light to every being unconditionally. So what the Holy Spirit says is, you have control over your thoughts. It's what you choose to feed. If you're going to focus on what they did, how they did it, why they did it, then you're not going to be happy and you're not going to be able to forgive and move past. But if you focus on the path to light, like again, I can still feel that there's unconditional love. There's still love here. I mean, I don't want to love this person because of everything and I have reasons, but there still is love. And so this also says not just that, what it's saying is, I overcome my obstacles, not with positivity and acceptance of, again, we're all human, but also I develop my gifts. So your choice of focus can't be in two places at one time. If you focus on yourself and your own gifts, you will find that you can forgive that person that you're stuck on, because you're filling yourself up so much with love and light. Because what you're doing is when you feed your gifts and you get to know who you are, you're having a love affair with yourself. You're giving yourself the love. That's how you're filling your own cup so that it overflows. And you have so much love that love extends out. But it also, by doing charity work and sharing who you are, and is how you raise your vibration to unconditional love, right? When we do charity, what are we doing when we volunteer to give of ourselves or to give anything? Even if you give a donation, to give something, but your time is just as valuable, if not more valuable, a lot of times, than your money. And so again, the path to light is to become the light so you can surrender. Otherwise, you can't surrender to that energy. And I'm going to leave that there, Taurus. So you let me know whether you resonated with this energy. And if you did, and you want to win a free reading with me, well, then all you got to do is release, well, what was it? It wasn't release fear and ancestral karma. It was released attentive and repressed nature, like, subscribe, and write release attentive and repressed nature in your comment bar. And let me know, are you in a heart and mind battle right now because of a person that's in your life that you love them, but you feel like you can't forgive them, you can't move past? Well, then let me know. I would love to hear about it. I'll talk to you guys all soon. Bye.